Hey, Kieran, what's up?
Julia, did you hear what they said?
No, what did they say?
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you right now. Meet me in the studio in 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm on my way. I'll see you soon.
Welcome back to That's What They Said, an educationally conversational podcast where we address all the things that aren't in the college brochure.
Episode 6.
Episode 6. Episode kick. Episode 6
of season 2.
Obviously. Of season 2. Season 2, episode 6. Coming at you live.
Barking at you live.
This week we are talking about how the grind never stopped, can't stop, don't stop.
It's true, and I feel like that's quite fitting considering we both just walked in here saying, I don't want to do this.
No.
And we're still here because you know what? The grind never stops for you guys.
I also just came running in from a meeting. I had a meeting that started at 12:30 that kind of just happened. That wasn't originally planned. And then we thought we had more time to film this. We now have 45 minutes, a little bit less than that. And I came literally speed walking down the hallway and I was like, hey, I'm here, I'm ready. So all is well. Have not ate, starving, but that's for 2:00 me, not 1:24 me. This week at work has been absolutely insane, and plot twist, it's Tuesday.
It's true.
It's Tuesday, and this week has been insane. And it will continue to be for the next week and a half, but
Slay!
Yay! With that in mind,
Grape.
high-low buffalo, let's hit it.
Okay. In terms of low, I am sick.
Yeah.
Was on death's doorstep all weekend.
Yep, I had to bring her medicine.
Yes, it's true. It's mommy sent me a bunch of food and medicine and candy for Valentine's Day.
Shout out Amy.
And also Kieran was a slay because she ran into my ex-boyfriend at a basketball game and didn't tell me until after I got well enough to handle that news. So that was really awesome.
True. She was texting me because she was texting me while I was at the game and was like, can you please bring me things? And I was like, I'm away to my parents after this and then I'll bring you stuff. And as she's texting me, she's like, I'm actually dying. I think I'm going to die. This is it. This is my last and final breath. I was literally walking behind her ex-boyfriend and I was like,
you know what? Yeah, I don't think I could have handled that, but
yeah, time and place.
I was kind of able to receive that. I was able to receive that information yesterday, and I did hit that. Okay.
I tried to throw it in there very oh, look, that's a really fun fact that I had.
And you did, and I really appreciate that. I really needed that. Well, I didn't really need that, but I needed that delivery, you know? In terms of high, it's feeling springy outside.
Yes, I was sweating profusely earlier, so that's true. How you know.
I walked here barefoot. I am currently wearing no shoes. So that's sitting pretty well with me. In terms of barflor, I was meant to go on 2 dates today. But I have moved both of them because I am so tired and my nose is dripping down my face. So that's really not going to work for me.
I'm glad we're in the same room filming this.
Well, I feel 80 times better than I did literally yesterday.
Yeah, you're welcome, by the way. Julia was trying so hard for us to film a podcast yesterday, and she's like, well, what if we just did a 20-minute episode or something like that? And I was like, girl, because we are not filming.
Because I care about you guys, you know. No, I just like filming the pod. But in terms of Buffalo, yes, that's what we're balking with. Also, I have to go hang up. Oh my God, I went to 5 different stores this morning after my interview because I did an in-person interview, which I'll talk about in a minute. But not a single one had name tags for the Contra Club, and I said, okay,
girl,
how's that possible?
What?
I went to Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Dollar Store, Walmart, and Five Below, and nobody had name tags. And I said, that's actually ludicrous.
The ones you pin on your shirt, or stickers?
Stickers.
I don't believe that. I believe you, but I also don't believe that's just.
And I feel that way too. So I ordered some on Amazon just now, and hopefully they'll get here on Friday or tomorrow or something.
That's the hope.
Okay, 8,000 people keep walking by outside, and I'm scared.
I'm feeling maybe the tally might have some in the crafts.
Yeah, but I need a lot, and I'm not. That would be $1,000 to get
Well, I mean, if you need at least just some to get you through. Yeah, you might be able to get some.
But I would need 200, and
I was just, God forbid I provide a solution.
Queen's grumpy. She's tired.
Queen Grumpy.
He's grumpy. You look like that cat Macy that I send you all the time.
All right.
Real nasty.
Moving on to my high-low buffalo.
Sorry.
My low is honestly, I've been exhausted. I'm really worn out. I'm having to put the next 3 weeks are just a lot for me. My calendar, I would show you, but I don't think I can show some of these things, but I'm just doing so many things. I think I think it was 15 different meetings just this week.
Real.
And I don't even really have time to study for my exam that I have on Friday. And
Ew, for what?
Supply chain.
Supply chain, yes.
Supply chain, yes.
Yes!
My high, though, is that next weekend I'm going to New York for a bachelorette. So I'm very excited about that. Bachelorette. I designed t-shirts for it.
Okay.
So that'll be
graphic
fun.
Design.
Yes. I'm also going to the NC State basketball game tonight. T-minus 3 hours until I need to be there because I have to get there 3 hours early so to make sure I have good seats.
I hope we win.
I do also hope we win. I'm really upset about our loss. We lost in the last 50 seconds. We were up by 7, lost in 50 seconds.
Do we have a good chance of winning tonight or no?
I think it depends what kind of NC State emotionally we're feeling today. If we're in our good, then I think we'll be fine. If we're doing an NC State traditional move of waiting until the last second, then we might not be as fine, but we'll see.
Okay.
Hoping we win, though. I kind of need that for my ego.
I feel like the student section should be more woo!
It was better at the last game. They actually sent out a thing, the student section people did, and they're like, guys,
I saw that.
It's really bad. We cannot have that.
It's true.
This is really awful, blah, blah. I was like, oh, not me, though. Not me. I'd be losing my voice because I'd be screaming so loud, so.
I know that's right.
A Buffalo is I've been really into oatmeal recently.
It's true.
I've been making oatmeal every single morning for the past week, and it's so good. It's so it just hits the spot every single time in the way I need it to, and I look forward to it every single morning. I've gone through almost a whole thing of oats.
You're nasty.
It was bagels for a while, and now it's oatmeal. But I low-key need to get through my bagels. But I've been really into oatmeal recently with some strawberries and blueberries on top. It's so good, so good. Oh my god.
Anyway.
I was hoping you guys would never see that side of me.
You already showed that on the first video podcast.
All right. Jobs and internships. Yay! Yeah, we're talking about jobs and internships today. Julia, what does your work background consist of? How many jobs have you had? What?
100.
What's your journey?
My first job was I was a instructor at an after school at my church in Wilmington, and I worked there for 2.5 years. Okay. And I started when they started the after school program, so I was there from day one.
Day one.
And
you're an OG.
Yes. And I can't even tell you the amount of stories I have from that job. I kids are crazy. What are we doing?
Sure.
They were ages 6 to 11, which is kind of a wide
It's a time
range.
to be alive with
yeah, because in terms of how developed we are up here, we're at different levels,
Not very.
So right. So that was a really interesting experience. I enjoyed it, though. I love those kids. I still think about them, and I got a lot of babysitting jobs from that because, whatever. I got Frank to work there, too,
nice.
During, my second year there,
that's fun.
Which is awesome. He was funny, though, because I would always be, the one that's, disciplining all the kids, and he would be the nice one, which is,
so they all liked him more.
Yeah, go see Mr. Frankie. He'll give you a piece of candy if you do the right thing. And I'm just sit down. No.
Sit down.
I literally had a kid... he lost a game. This kid was 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
He lost a game we were playing. It was tag or something, and he looked at me. He was I hate you. I wasn't even playing. I was just sitting on the side.
Yeah.
And he was looking at me, and I was okay, let's go down the hall, okay? And I took his hand and we walked down the hall, and he's crying and saying I hate you, blah blah blah, you're awful, blah blah. And I was I didn't even do anything. I wasn't even playing. But and then I sat him down in a chair, and I was okay, when you're ready to make a good choice, you can maybe come back. And I don't even know. The patience that I learned from that job is astronomical. I can genuinely handle anything. Maybe that's why I put up with the freak-ass men that I put up with, is because we're allowed to say that.
Okay.
We're allowed to say that. It's on the list.
Okay.
I have a giant list printed out of what I'm allowed to say. Maybe that's why I put up with the men that I put up with, because my patience is astronomical. But anyway, I had that job for a few years. I nannied over the summers. I nannied for one of the families that went to after school, and that was low-key the hardest job of my life. Their daughter was just... I love
So
her.
good.
I love her so much. But what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, the first time that I babysat her, she ripped off all her clothes and ran and jumped in the pool, and and her parents had just left, and I'm like, so what do I do? Because I'm not getting in the pool. You know? Like,
So you just let the kid drown, or?
No, she could swim.
Oh.
So I just let her, I just, like, sat beside the pool. And they also had this huge dog that, like, he was kind of scared me. But I would, like, make lunch and then turn around to, like, grab, like a piece of bread and turn around and lunch would be gone. He would have jumped up on the counter and eaten it. And I was like, so this is actually not something I need right now.
Right.
So I had that job. And then I obviously work in the student media business office. We've yapped about that before. We started on the same day.
again.
You know. Last summer I worked, where did I work the summer before that?
You worked at the club,
Yeah, that's where I worked, like, this past summer.
Oh.
What was the summer before that, though?
Was it, like, at the church?
Oh, I used to do summer camps, too, for preschoolers, which was low-key.
Yeah.
It was fun. I had the 2-year-olds, and I got to hold little babies, and they were so nasty.
Yeah.
But last summer I worked at a yacht club, and that was fun. I got to be by the water, and, like, I like being by the water and being by boats and all that stuff. But, like, they had me working from 7 to 7 Saturdays and Sundays. And let me tell you something about me. I'm not going to get up that early. But I did for a whole summer. And I only had, like, 1 weekend off the entire summer.
I remember.
Which is low-key ludicrous because y'all came to visit me.
And you literally left to go to work.
I was like, well, bye, y'all. I had, like, we got up for, like, a sunrise. And I was like, because that was the only time I could hang out. And then, and then I went to work. But it was, like, a fun job. That's, like, you know, I don't know. It was fun. It was pretty easy, and there were some people my age that were working there too, so that was, like, cool. And obviously now I podcast, and I am a youth ministry intern, so get to work with older kids now, which is fun. So
that's your journey?
That's my journey, I think. Oh, I was also an intern at a research lab, but that was a while ago.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
I started working when I was 13. A lot of under the table stuff.
Classic.
I did some catering. I worked for the catering thing. Yeah. Why they were letting me at 13 do that?
My foot is in these shots. Sorry about that, team.
That's crazy. We're gonna have to blur that.
I was just trying to get cozy.
Yeah, I did some catering. My aunt works in the restaurant industry, so I did a lot of stuff with her. Like, I would just come in and wash dishes for her. I would, like, help clean up whatever. Roll silverware. Y'all know.
So fun.
I went with my mom. She worked at a preschool before she became a nurse, so I helped her with I didn't get paid for any of this, but I just did it.
Oh.
But I did.
I don't work for free, y'all.
Yeah, I did. I helped her with, like, summer camps and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, what else? I think my first, like, real actually getting paid legally job was when I worked as a host at
host.
It was a host at this, like, pizza restaurant.
Okay.
I was so overworked and so underpaid. I was getting paid, like, minimum wage. And I did more work than, like, everybody there. Ludicrous. I got scheduled on all the busy weekends because I was the only one who could handle it. I ran that ship like it was no one's business. A lot of stories from that because I was 15 at the time when I started that job, and I left when I was, like, almost 17. Because at the same time I was also volunteer coaching, and then I also at another point was volunteer coaching, like, getting paid as a volleyball coach, and then working that job. Very busy time in my life, my sophomore and junior year. A lot of stories from that. A lot of times that people thought that I was much older than I was, and so I had a lot of. This one guy came up one time. The way that it, like, was set up is I had to, like, lean over this counter to, like, grab, like, the silverware and, like, the menus and stuff. And so these, like, teenagers came in and they're like, oh, we want, like, a table, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. So I, like, leaned over the counter to grab the things, and the guys came up behind me and started, like, humping me.
Oh my God. The way that I would have been arrested, like, for my
to
reaction to that.
But they were doing it, like, air humping me. So I didn't know they were doing it. Like, I couldn't see, or, like, they weren't close enough so I could feel it. And so I, like, sit them down, and her name is Lydia. Shout out Lydia. She was one of the, like, such a fun server to work with. But she was, like, 27 and just, like, she was a baddie. With, like, those guys were just air humping you. And I was like, what? And she's like, I'm gonna handle it. And then she went up with her waters and pretended to spill it on them and got them wet. It was very funny.
The way that I would have been fired immediately.
No, I was just so, like, what? Because I was, like, 15 and a half. Anyhow, worked there. I did volleyball coach for a few years. I feel like there's this other job that I had, and I really don't remember what it is. And then in college, I also...
Yeah.
What did I do? Oh, yeah, I work my various
What I do?
student media jobs, podcast.
It's true.
But I've been working for a while. I've always been employed in some level since I was 13 until now, so...
It's true.
Working 9 to 5.
I feel that way, too, and still I have no money. Riddle me that.
Yeah, well, luckily for me, I get to help out on car payments, and I had to pay part of my rent, so all my paychecks were going to that, which was really cool. That's fun, but now I get to pay less, so that's yay. I have some money. Y'all have heard me when I was living off those $39 for 2 weeks. It was a time to be alive, that's for sure.
Lord.
Anyhow, getting jobs in college is a whole other battlefield. I feel like in high school, it was just like you were, one, cool if you had a job, and two, it was just like they wanted anyone to do anything for anyone.
That's true.
And in college, it's like, have you worked on this specific field for this specific thing for 20 years?
And that's for like an entry level something.
Yeah,
it's
because
like,
tell me why.
Be for real.
Like, I'm trying to apply for jobs, and it's like the description is like, you just have to like have a vibe, you know? And if you like maybe like know how to like use a computer, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But like not required, I guess. Or it's like you have to developed the Pythagorean theorem, and then also have worked for Newton, and then also developed gravity, and then also did the light bulb with Thomas Edison, but also you had to have done 3 college research programs, and then also developed the cure for cancer, and then like, but that's like just to submit your application.
Right.
Do you want someone to work for you, or is this just like a pastime of employing people, maybe?
Right.
Like, how many applicants? Like, no wonder you're hiring. Like, you're asking me to decipher Da Vinci's Code and like solve like the freaking Gemini Zodiac killer case. Like, what are we doing?
It's true. It's true.
So that's how I feel about that.
No, and that's true. I like sometimes I'll be like reading through this thing, like a job description of all the things it requires, and it's like you have to have like 4.0, you know, like 5 jobs before this, and like, well, you have, you know, whatever. And then I'll get to the bottom and it'll say unpaid internship, and it's like, girl,
yeah, you'll never catch me going for an unpaid internship. Literally never. And that like used to be a thing. I feel like my parents, like, back in the day, you just had to do your time, and I'll do my time when I'm getting paid at least $13 an hour. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I am not going to be giving you 40. I don't know who is. Oh, there's a band playing.
So that's
I'm hearing some guitars in the background. That's cool. Hope you guys can hear that.
It's us, like under the table, like playing something.
There's this clip about these guys having an air guitar competition, and it makes me laugh so hard. But anyhow, yeah, I'm not doing an internship, but that's not being paid. I'm not doing anything that's not being paid, because after having to go through being overworked and underpaid at that hostess job, I was getting paid like $8 an hour plus tips. Woo! And the tips were not from customers. It was from the servers, and the bartenders had to pay me out. But they would only each give me like $1. But because they liked me so much, I usually got a lot of tips. They would give me extra. But
that's nasty.
But still, I was not getting paid nearly enough. Like the amount of time, like gas money I had to spend just to get there was about the same I made in the 2 weeks I was getting paid. I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing?
Well, speaking of internships, and paid internships, I had a interview this morning, an in-person interview. Yes. It was like the final round interview for an internship that I would really like to have. Yeah, I would really like it, and I think I would be good at it, and I think it would be really fun, and I think I vibed with the person I'd be working with. It's an HR internship, and it's like mostly talent acquisition, which means the person that was interviewing me, who interviews everyone, is who I would be working with. So it was kind of nice, because like I had my first interview with her too, so like I was just comfortable with her, you know, and it just sounds really fun. I did find out the workday starts at 7:30 in the morning, and I said,
when does it end?
5:30.
So it's like a 40-hour a week.
Yes.
So how would you work here over the summer? Or you wouldn't in that scenario?
I wouldn't in that scenario. Or I work half days on Fridays, so I could do something on Fridays.
Right.
What is this text message that I got? But I had that interview this morning, and I got in there, and she's like, just to let you know, you have some really tough competition, like blah blah blah. And I was like,
the scare tactic out the gate is crazy.
She was like, how many people? I was getting interviewed by 2 people.
Yeah.
And she's like, how many people did we interview for this position? And the other lady was like 10. And she's like, and we picked 2 to come for an in-person interview, and we had the other one yesterday, so you have some stiff competition. And I was like, okay.
I hate when people are like that. I had, during an interview once, I've only ever done a handful of interviews in my life.
It's true.
A lot of jobs that I have were because, like, my dad or my aunt or whoever was like, we need someone to do this. And I was like, I got you.
I'll do it.
But I had this interview this one time for this company. And one of the questions I asked was, I was like, you know, in terms of success, like, how would you define
I love that question.
success in this role, and what are you kind of looking for? And what their answer was like, you know, we're really looking for someone who doesn't have to be told twice how to do something, and just will go really above and beyond and come in early and stay late and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so free labor? You want me to overwork and underpay myself?
And also, I feel like, especially for an internship, I think the whole goal is to learn, and to, like, companies that have good internship programs do it for the love of the game. Like, they like to teach, and they like to form their employees, like, for, like, full-time jobs in the future, you know? So, like, if you're saying you don't need to be told twice, something about me is I'm going to ask a question.
Yeah, I was like, so you're advocating for a toxic work environment is what I'm hearing. I did not get offered the position, and I'm okay with that. I also really didn't want it after hearing that answer. So
real. Sometimes you have to like turn down an internship. Which is like, sometimes in this economy you can't be turning down things, but like sometimes you have to, because it's like, I genuinely, that is not good. Like, that's not a healthy work environment. That's not like fair of you to ask of someone for that amount of money. Like, you know, I haven't had any interviews like that though. I haven't had many interviews anyway, but I low-key enjoy interviews with people I don't know very well, because I like talking to people, so I just like...
My thing is, I really like to be funny during my interviews, and so like this, I was having a dilemma with this yesterday, because yesterday I interviewed for our general manager position.
Yay! I was there because I get to vote on if she should be it.
This is true. Everybody who I am related to work-wise was in that call talking about me, and I wasn't there, and it's really weird knowing that they all talked about me, and I can't know what they said for another like week.
You'll never know.
I'm allowed to know on March 3rd.
I'm telling everyone not to tell you, so. Yep.
It would not be that hard for me to get you to tell me. But anyhow, it was very weird though, because like, you're supposed to be like, this is something where my boss was like, you need to come like, you know, professional, like in a suit jacket. So I did. But it's also like, I can't be very like funny, and that's kind of my whole thing. Is I think
my whole thing. That's like my whole thing.
My charm is kind of what gets me through. I feel like the charm is what like drives people to like pick me for position, and then like obviously my work ethic is what
proves that
keeps me in the position. Yeah. And so it was very hard for me to have to be very just like using very professional lingo, and I couldn't. I tried to be funny here and there, but it was just very more like, you know, I grew up with 2 brothers, so confrontation's nothing new to me. I made that joke at one point.
Wait, you said one thing that I texted Serene, and I was like, hold on, I have to find it, because you said you said at one point that you get it off just by looking at a rate card. Like, what? What? You do what by looking at a rate card? You said that. I texted her immediately, and then she silenced her phone and would not respond to any of my texts because she kept laughing. And I was like, girl.
What I was trying to say is that I get the point of what I'm supposed to be doing just by looking at the rate card. Like, I understand by looking at the rate card what would be best for clients.
You
and like,
really like that rate card.
I mean, I designed it myself, so I sure hope I would.
Anyway, sorry, that made me giggle a little bit. Yeah.
Did I eat down?
In your interview? Yeah. I would have been TTing my pants had I had to do an interview with that many people just asking me questions.
There was like 20 people on that call. Every single person related to this entire company happened to be on that call. I was like,
and it was just like they had 30 minutes to ask her questions.
Well, I was also sad because they didn't ask me any like fun personality questions. Just like, how would you solve this one dilemma of the world? I was like, whoa.
I don't know.
Whatever happened to what's your favorite like what kind of flower are you? Like, what are we doing?
Hello?
Like, because in the other interviews I've been at, they asked like 1 or 2. And so I was waiting for like, what's your favorite memory? And it was just like, how would you solve the world hunger crisis that's inflicting our... I was like, whoa! Whoa! But I think it was fine. Like, I think it was fine. But that was kind of killing me yesterday that I couldn't be like funny the whole time. I had to like be serious.
Yeah. I was like trying to like be funny today because it was like the girlies were interviewing me, you know, so I was like trying to like interview them, and we had a few laughs.
We giggled.
We giggled a little bit, but but then she was like, one thing about HR is that you're like not supposed to be friends with anybody in the office because you're like,
I know that's a struggle for you.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah.
You see where we are now.
Like, hello, this is like, oh, I like to be friends with people.
Same.
But she was like, it's a lonely world in HR, and I was like,
no,
I just want to be friends with everyone. I'm sorry.
Rainbows and butterflies.
But then I was like, well, y'all seem to be friends. And she's like, well, we could all be friends. You know, we're a team. But like
the HR people.
And I was like, well, you know what? And that's fine. As
long as I have some friends, like
like if it's the girlies, then it's the girlies. Like, you know, but
girls.
Hello, who are these people? Looky patties
though. You're like, hey guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're just recording. Don't even worry.
Hey
guys. We got a few extra mics. We got a few extra mics. Cameras. Yeah. Just come on in.
Yeah. That would be so funny.
We're like, hey, we're actually doing the band interview. If you want to come in here, and just
right.
Yeah.
What's your like? Something that I always do with interviews is I always have a pre-interview freak out. I did actually accidentally say that on the thing yesterday.
It's true.
But I thought it was relevant to what I was talking about. And I feel like it makes me seem more like a person than like just like some work figure.
I agree. And I thought it kind of showed how you were like really nervous, but you still locked in because you didn't seem that nervous in the interview.
Yeah.
Bro.
But I always have a pre-interview freak out. One thing about me is I do. I used to have this like segment on like one of my Instagram stories, like a pre-calc test freak out or something. It like rhymed, but one of the things when I interviewed for this job, I feel like I might have told the story here. No, I don't remember. But when I interviewed for my original media consultant job back in like October of 2024 or whatever, so the first interview I had, there was 2 rounds to it. The first one was virtual, just like literally 15 minutes, like what's your favorite pastime and like what's your personality. And then the second one was I had to like come in person, and they asked me a couple questions or whatever. And during that, before the interview where I came in person, I literally laid on the floor for 30 minutes in fetal position. Like I could physically not get up. I was so nervous. And then I also came professionally dressed because I wasn't sure what the vibe was. So I came in like a button-up shirt and whatever. True. I sweat through the whole thing by the time I got there. The whole thing. I looked so disheveled in this interview because I had sweat through my shirt so you could see my bra. Like sweat through completely. Perfect. And then in my hair I had down, I had styled it completely frizzy because I had sweat so bad that I ended up putting my hair up. So I look like, you know, like in the movies when they want to portray someone who's stressed at work, is it's just like your shirt's half on, you're like drinking your 7th cup of coffee, they have like hair each way,
it's all wrinkled,
eye bags, like you're wearing 2 different shoes. Like that's how I looked. Like I think I was wearing one of my shoes on the wrong foot, and then I just looked crazy.
Real? Because
I was so nervous for this interview. And it ended up being fine. I was like basically hired the same day, so it was cool.
It's true.
And obviously now I'm here, but it was just like,
and we started on the same day.
Yeah. And the rest is history.
It really is.
But even yesterday, like I wasn't extremely nervous for this interview. Like I was nervous, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't extremely nervous because I think I know all the people, and I knew for the most part what kind of questions were going to be asked.
Well, because she was like, you know, like, oh wait, are we talking about yesterday or original?
Yesterday?
Oh, yesterday. Oh, I was gonna say for the original interview, like for just the media consultant.
Yeah.
She was like, just look at the rate card. You didn't even memorize it, but like just be able to answer questions about it.
I did in fact memorize it.
I did too. I was like, okay, and I couldn't tell you anything about it now. I have to reference it like 20 times a day. But like,
it's bad that I've gotten to a point where someone's like, oh, I wonder what this is, like at $300. Like I can just like tell you because I've looked at that thing so many times. I can tell you like some things,
but some of the like the kiosk stuff, I can never remember that.
Oh no. But yeah, yesterday I wasn't as super nervous, but I did sit on the floor for 20 minutes, and then I nervously peed in the bathroom, and then I like walked in a circle on the floor, and then I messed with my hair, and then I filmed a TikTok that I ended up deleting because I've just made myself talking to myself about it, like, real. And I was just like, okay, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be cool. I actually don't know why I'm nervous. I'm literally fine and normal, and then I literally go to click on, I'm like, okay, here we go, and then I was like, hello everybody, thank you for joining my meeting today. It's really nice to get the chance to talk to you.
Speaking of that, I made a new Instagram account where I just post reels.
Really?
And I'm the only person that could see it. Like, it's private.
Oh, it's just like for your enjoyment.
Yeah, but I've only posted a couple. But one of them was when I got stood up on Valentine's Day, guys. I forgot to tell you that. But it honestly wasn't that devastating because that was the day I started getting sick. So I was like, I actually don't have the energy to like.
Yeah, even be
like,
here.
If I had to like speak to someone right now, much less a man, no. Oh my god! Also, I went to all these stores today and I got some bits and bobs, not that I needed, but that I just discovered.
Yeah.
And you know those diamond painting things?
Yeah.
I got one of those.
Oh?
I have been wanting to do one of those. And the picture looks so shiny and it looks really pretty, so I'm hoping to do that tonight.
Love that.
But yes, no, I'm really excited about that. And what I'm really concerned about is the fact that Jamie is here and I feel like maybe they want to use this room.
Well, we got another 7 minutes left, so
okay, let's do a quick notes app, maybe?
Yeah, a quick notes app.
Yeah, let me see.
Something I have in my notes app that I want to talk about. Where are we at with time? Has it only been like 20 minutes?
29.
Something I want to talk about is when I was driving to Bojangles the other day, I drove by a tumbleweed.
What?
I had never seen a tumbleweed ever in my life, but I literally watched a tumbleweed. I had to slow down so the tumbleweed could go across. And I was like, did anybody else see this? Did anybody else see the tumbleweed? Nobody cared, but I did. I was also the only person in the car, so I don't know who else would have cared, but I did see a tumbleweed while I was driving, and that got me.
I like that. I'm gonna scroll through and just click on something.
Let me see.
The amount of like notes I have in here of like texts I've typed out to like then send to someone.
Yeah. Something else I have while you're looking is how, as a society, have we not developed enough to where we can put more chips in the bag? Why is my bag...
Capitalism, it sucks.
Yeah. Like, I understand, like, the whatever science behind it. Like, you want to keep them fresh and blah, blah. How have we not developed something that makes us put at least 80% of the chips in the bag? Like, why is there, like, literally 7 chips in the bag?
It's true.
It's something I think about, like, some of the minor inconveniences in life that how we have not solved this yet. But I'm sure we maybe have, and I'm just, like,
I have random phone numbers in here and I don't know who they're for. Here's a good question. What are your love languages? Do you know them?
Yes. I forget completely.
Yeah.
I think for me, my biggest one I think is acts of service.
Yeah.
Like coming home and they like did the dishes for me or whatever, or like
you and it's your housewife. When I come home, they got dinner on the
table,
and, you know,
but just like if I was like stressed, I was like, oh, I really have to organize this pantry at some point. I just like I don't even know when I'm gonna do it, and I come home later that day and it's done. Like I'm like, or like they hear the small things, or they surprise me with like flowers, or like just like oh, I'm just having an awful day today. Like texting or whatever, and I like come home and they like bought me some ice cream, and like they have dinner made and whatever, like just like those kinds of things, like the smaller like the acts of service I think really speaks volume to me, because I feel like I've always been someone whose action speaks more than words, and so like you can tell me you love me all day long, which obviously I love me a compliment. Don't hold back. I love me a compliment. I love me. That's all right. That's probably my second is probably words of affirmation. I feel like probably words of affirmation, and then maybe physical touch, and then quality time, and then what's the last one? Gifts, yeah. Gifts is probably my last. I feel like gifts and acts of service are pretty similar.
I agree.
I think a gift is an act of service.
I agree.
So maybe I think I'd put that last. I'd probably put I'd probably put quality time.
It's 1:57.
Okay. Quick. But yeah, anyways, acts of service and words of affirmation are probably my biggest.
I would say quality time is one of mine. I love to just sit and be.
This is true. I do love to sit and be.
I love to sit and be. And I love to parallel play. Do you know parallel play? It's like where I'm sitting and being with someone, but we're doing our own activities. Like I could be doing a craft and you could be like reading a book, but we're being together. But like
when we watch TikTok just on your floor in silence.
Like parallel
I eat
play.
That up.
Like if somebody was like, hey, you want to go on a date with me? Let's parallel play. I would say, all right. When and where, like that, like dream date for real.
Yeah, well, that's why I love like going to study with someone.
Yes,
I love studying with people because it's just like
I love it.
Maybe I like quality time more than I'm giving it credit.
I like quality time. I like physical touch. I feel like I used to not like being touched by anyone.
Yeah,
but I do like in a romantic way. I think physical touch is really important. Obviously, I love to cuddle. I love to be cuddled.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be cozy. Like being cozy is like my thing. So like
this is true.
If you be cozy with me, then like we're locked in. You know what I'm saying? I love acts of service. I like doing things for people. I love getting gifts. Obviously, I do all my crafts, so I can give them out. That makes me happy. What was the other one? Words of affirmation. I like that. I don't know. I'm just an anxious guy sometimes, so I need the reassurance. But I don't know if that's because it's my like love language or just because I'm anxious. You know what I'm saying? But overall, anybody that could give me any of those, I would be really interested in maybe exploring that. Maybe if you don't stand me up on Valentine's Day, like maybe we could do something like if we're interested, you know. But I'm not talking to that man anymore. Don't worry.
No, of course not. We have moral. We got dignity.
We moved on.
Yes.
But yeah, that's just what I've been thinking, and I'm feeling like my nose is stuffy, and I need to go print things and tally, and then hang flyers up all over campus.
Okay, well, I want to go eat lunch. So
okay, well,
make sure you follow us on the Instagram and DM us any questions you have, the topics you want to hear.
I was supposed to say that.
Oh, go ahead.
Make sure to follow us on the Instagram and DM us any questions or topics you want to hear about. Our handle is at TWTS Pod.
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 Yeah, we're here to tell you the truth.
Because I don't always get it right.
Bye guys.